Okay, so welcome everyone. We're going to use a practice this morning that integrates the wall and a chair and the surfaces that help to remind us where we can seek stability, which we need if we're going to have integration. We need to have a sense of stability. So let's just begin by sitting comfortably and upright. You can rest your hands in your lap and let yourself arrive in the plumb line of your body and in the joy of getting to be in your yoga practice. You're welcome to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. You could imagine, as I've been talking about the last couple of practices, that we call our senses back home. So we bring the senses inside. For the purpose of restoring our senses, so that from that place of renewal, how we experience the world and each other is refreshed. So you can lightly allow your senses to acknowledge the present moment around you, like the light against your eyelids, the air against your skin, whatever sounds are present. For us, it's morning. For those people who are in the UK, it's not morning, it's afternoon. The sounds will be different based on the time of day. And once you kind of lightly acknowledge the periphery where your senses are aware of the world around you, then direct your senses to come in. So listening inside, sensing within, and seeing within. Not for the purpose of evaluating anything at all. Simply going within. And when you feel like you've come to your center, to your plumb line, then start breathing up and down the length of the spine. And you can take notice when you inhale from the base of the pelvis and the breath is coming up, as if it were a thermometer, how high up does your breath come comfortably and naturally right now? When you exhale, return to the base of the belly for the exhale to go from the bottom up towards the solar plexus. You do not need to recruit the rib cage or the chest for the exhale, but rather the deep low belly and your diaphragm. So the senses come in, the breath finds its way, and then we bring the body into the practice also. So please join your hands together at your heart, and we'll begin with an opening chant. You may sing with me. Sahana Bhavatu, Sahanao Bhunaktu, Savidyam Karavavai, Tejasvinavaditamastu, Ma Vidvishavai, Sahana Bhavatu, Sahanao Bhunaktu, Savidyam Karavavai, Tejasvinavaditamastu, Ma Vidvishavai, Sahana vavatu, sahano punaktu, savidyam karavavai, tejasvinavaditamastu, ma vidvishavai. Om Shanti Om. With your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart and release your hands. And please open your eyes. So we are going to come up to standing, and I'd like us to be able to make use of a wall surface, a floor surface, a couple of yoga blocks. So let's start by standing at the wall surface that you can make. And again, if you don't have a wall space available, you can simulate. Let me bring my microphone with me. Okay, so when I step back to the wall here, I'm going to place my hips against the wall and the feet a couple of inches forward from the wall. And then bend the knees just enough that your knees are vertical to your shins. And you can sweep the low belly against the wall. So there's a kind of hollowing to the low belly. The pelvis goes into what we call a posterior pelvic tilt. And you can sense the back waist right here touching. So take a few breath cycles down deliberately into the first third of the pelvis right here. And when you exhale, try to sense the line from the pubic bone up the front of the sacrum. Right? It is the front belly that we're touching here, but try to sense the front of the sacrum as a part of the exhale. And then you want to be able to release that tone easefully, so the next inhale is not like abrupt or gasping. So exhale, concentrate on the tone you can make in the deep low belly. When you get to the end of that tone, concentrate on releasing the exercise of the abdomen slowly, that the inhale comes down low, and then mid-low, low here, and the in-breath comes into the abdomen and fans out to the sides of the ribs. And one more time, exhale from the deep low belly, mid-low belly, low belly, up towards the navel. And then see if you can raise your arms up overhead as you inhale. Just try to get a sense, like, how far do the arms go for you this morning? What is your upper back flexibility? Where is the range of motion? And what happens down in the low abdomen to support the raising up of your arms? And then as you exhale, float your arms forward. Notice that it'll be easier to press your back into the wall as the arms come down. And place your hands near your hips. Push yourself forward up to standing. Inhale, raise both arms. It's quite a bit more free this way. Notice there's a curve in the lower back. When you exhale, bend your knees and drape yourself down over your thighs like a little rag doll. And try to sense the breath coming into the back hemisphere of the waist again. So though we're not now touching the wall, I want you to sense this region of the body receiving the inhale. And then play with the tone of the exhale. So you really take your time, and as the exhale tones the deep low belly, be very thoughtful about how you release into the inhale. So it should not feel like you're gasping for the inhale, but rather the inhale kind of expands slowly and you have some inner leadership with the breath. Now rock back until your hips touch the wall behind you. It should still be right there. This is my hope. And roll yourself up against the wall, kind of vertebrae by vertebrae. When you're coming up, imagine yourself stacking the vertebrae over each other until your heart comes up, then your head comes up. Raise the arms, inhale. Notice if it's any bit easier after the forward bend. Do the arms come up more easily? Does the upper back feel any different? And then exhale, lower both arms down. Place your hands by your hips and push yourself forward to rise up to standing. Now I'm going to turn sideways so that my right side is going to touch the wall. And what you have to do is stand a few inches from the baseboard. So you're standing like, let me see like this far from the baseboard, because you will lean your hip into the wall. So you place your feet, put them together, and then bring your right hip against the wall. Raise your right arm up alongside the wall like this. And for now, keeping your right hip at the wall and your right side waist and your right rib cage on the wall. So the lower part of the rib cage touches, and then make a very little side bend in the upper part of your spine. Let your head tip to your left. Keep your right floating ribs and your right hip against the wall. And then begin to take the rib cage, floating ribs away from the wall. Keep your right hip on the wall. You're making the side bend a little bit more dynamic. Root down into your right heel, press into your right hip, and let the side bend be like one of those plants you might imagine in nature, where it goes up and then it goes a little bit into a curve, without losing the integrity from your hips to your heels. So breathe in to the deep low belly. Now when you exhale, tone your low belly and bring your torso upright. Notice how those two actions are connected. And then move your hips away from the wall, lower your right arm down. Let's do the other side. So place your left hip at the wall. You're just a few inches from the baseboard. Raise your left arm up. And start with your floating ribs touching the wall, so you have your left hip and your floating ribs. And just curve the upper part of the spine to your right. So to keep your left floating ribs on the wall, you have to have some strength into your feet and your legs. And yes, both hips. And then in the upper part of the abdomen. And keeping your left hip on the wall, start the process of bringing your left rib cage away from the wall, so the side bend is going to be deepening. And as you are reaching up with your left arm and the side bend curves down to the right, try to keep integrity from your feet to your pelvis, your low belly, into your hips. And breathing in one more time. When you exhale, tone the low belly and bring yourself up against the wall. Then move your hips away from the wall, lower your left arm down. And you can turn to face forward for a moment. You can see me again. So that should be moving some energy in through here. Now I'm going to ask you to stand so that you are an arm's length from the wall, like this. So I put my right hand up. I know you can't see my wall very well. If I was standing at a wall, it would be like this. And this is going to be my plumb line. So you put your right hand up against the wall and then raise your left arm high. Now this time, keeping the feet together and your hips centered, as you arc up, try not to bend your right elbow, but reach up and over to your left. So with the right arm straight, you should feel the upper part of the chest first. Upper side ribs. And then start bending your right elbow and let the rib cage on the left side also expand, opening the way that you might open a Japanese fan. Keep your heels, your legs, and your hips very stable. It is not necessary for your left hand to touch the wall overhead, but it might happen. And then when you exhale, use your low belly and your upper belly. Start bringing your torso upright, level your hips, straighten your right arm, and then lower your left arm. And turn about to face the other way. So you're going to place your left hand up on your wall, put the feet together, make the legs strong, left hand up, and then raise your right arm up overhead. By keeping the left arm straight, you really are just asking the upper right rib cage and chest to be first here. Give some time for the breath to come from your low belly to your sideways up into the upper right chest. And then you can start bending your left elbow. Keep integrity from your heels to your legs to your hips, so that as you bend the left elbow, you're adding to the side curve, but maintaining integrity from your hips to your heels. As you're breathing in, make it smooth and steady, please. So the breath is steady, the senses are inward, your body is steady, and then this area of exploration can happen without mental intrusion, without physical compromise. And using your exhale and your right low belly and the upper belly, bring yourself up until your left arm is straight. Release your right arm and turn to face forward and take notice. Okay, what's alive in through here? What's happening? Okay, now we'll take it into what's called the wall dog pose, and I'm going to be miming a wall for you because I think I can do it. So it goes like this. Let me step, this way. I'm looking at the reverse of me on the camera. So if you were to have a wall in front of you, let's see, this is my wall, the dark spot in my room. I'm making my wall right here, like that. I'm going to ask you to put your hands up at the height of your eyes on that wall, like this. And then step your feet back and then reach your hips back. So we call this wall dog or shower dog because people do it in the shower. And when I use the actual wall, it looks like this. So rest your head between your upper arms so the ears and the biceps are snuggling with each other. And imagine the breath coming into the upper chest. Of course, it begins in the pelvis and then the mid-back and the low back. But allow the breath to kind of open your wingspan at the sides of your heart, up towards your armpits. When you exhale, follow the tone of the deep low belly. Follow it from the beginning towards the end of that tone and practice the gentle release into your inhale. And then as you exhale, start sliding your hands down the wall, press into the wall, release to come up to standing with the arms dangled. And notice it one more time. What is the capacity for your breath from the low pelvis, the mid-torso, and up into the heart, including the sides of the chest right there. Okay, now let's take that into some floor-based poses where we look at the quadruped position that becomes things like downward facing dog pose. So please come down to your hands and knees, and I'm going to ask you to come into table pose. Place your table pose so your hands are directly under your shoulders. And then keeping your right hand where it is, step your left hand forward, well forward of your right. Press your fingers into the floor like the claws of a cat. And then lower your right elbow down. And let your head hover near your left arm. And I'm going to ask you to take your senses inside again and to really imagine the pathway of the breath in the left low pelvis, left side belly, and up into the left sort of upper wing of the chest or the heart. And when you exhale, follow the tone of the deep low belly. So you're really practicing how can you tone and tone and tone the belly, and then gracefully feel into the inhale. And then press into your right hand and shift into table pose. Now walk your right hand well forward of your left hand. Press your fingers into the floor like the claws of a cat. Touch your left elbow down. Balance your head somewhere near your right upper arm. And follow the breath from the pelvis and the right low belly, right mid belly and right side waist, and the wings of the upper right chest. Having this access to the full inner experience of the breath is like regaining your sense of strength, empowerment, stamina, clarity, and having this inner leadership over the exhale. This is so important. It's like leadership over the mind, which tends to go to grasping, aversion, clinging, resistance, storytelling, wandering about. So practice one more time, a smooth inhale, right low pelvis, right sideways, the wing of the upper right chest. And then the exhale with this graceful tone in the inner belly. Press into your left hand, return to table pose, and momentarily sit back to kneeling. Rest your hands in your lap. And notice what's happening in the inner body. So we go from action to reflection, from dynamic to subtle, exertion to ease. Okay, we're going to take that into downward facing dog pose. I'm going to turn so you can see the front view. So when you place your hands for this downward dog pose this morning, I'd like you to just double check that when you place your index fingers down, the index fingers are parallel to each other. And then the other three fingers remaining, they stretch out to the sides and the thumbs point in towards the center. Then firm your triceps towards each other. Press down with both arms so that the sides of your chest are strong, where the shoulder blades and the rib cage communicate. And then lift your hips and begin reaching high and back into your downward facing dog pose. And try to sense any difference in this dog pose compared to on another day. Like, how has this experience with the breath, with the sequence, how has this promoted your downward dog pose in these moments? And if you do keep the index fingers, the triceps, the shoulder blades wrap onto the rib cage, if you keep all of that stable, what is the possibility for your breath in your downward facing dog? And then slowly bring your knees down. Return to table pose really slowly. So feel the sides of the chest and the shoulder blades, the rib cage, the arms are steady. Step your right foot out to the side like this, please. Let me move my hair. So right foot out to the side, pick up your right hand and inhale, twist to your right. Make the left arm strong and stable. So you're really stacking over the strength of your left hand. When you exhale, bring the right arm down. Do not bend your left elbow, but let the right rib cage and shoulder release towards the floor a bit. So keep the left arm very stable. We're working underneath your left shoulder blade. Okay, press down from your left shoulder blade into your left hand and open to your right. And then exhale as you're coming down. Keep the left arm very stable and let the rib cage soften. So your left rib cage and left shoulder blade are having some space between them. We're working underneath that shoulder blade. The inhale, press into your left shoulder blade, left arm, left hand, twist to your right. And once more, exhale to come down and see what you can release sort of at the back of the heart, right underneath the left shoulder blade. And then level off to step into table pose. And let's change sides and I'll give you a profile view. So step your left foot out to the side. Now make the right arm strong. And as you inhale, open and twist to your left. There you go. Yeah, really good. Okay, so with the exhale now, when you come down, keep the right arm very strong and let the left rib cage soften so it's a little bit lower than your right shoulder. The left arm is passive. Inhale, press from your right shoulder blade to your right arm. Into your right hand, twist to your left. And exhale to come down. And let the right arm be very stable here so that the rib cage underneath the right shoulder blade can kind of ask, what am I ready to let go of? And then press into your right arm again. Inhale to open. And exhale, soften down, releasing. And one more time. Inhale, twist to your left, energize your right arm. And exhale, when you come down through here, keep the right arm very steady, let the left arm dangle. And then press into the right hand and shoulder, return to table pose momentarily. Sit back to kneeling and find out what's going on now when you come back to kneeling. Okay, we're going to take this into one aspect of the sun salutation right now. So please rise up to standing. And this is where you'd want to have a block for your hands. And I'm going to ask you to step your right foot forward. Now you can simulate, if the wall isn't conducive for you for this, you can simulate. But if possible, let me walk my foot to the side so you can see that my left heel is back at the baseboard. And the angle of the left foot is on a slight angle. It's not 45 degrees, it's not 90, it's slight, maybe 30 degrees if you want to be mathematical. And then please line up heel to heel or wider, but please don't line up heel to arch between your front foot and your back foot. Take your yoga block like this, place your fingers, so your index fingers are on the sides of the block and so are the thumbs. And then the palms can face down. So we're not actually holding the block between the hands like this. We are holding it from the thumb and the index finger like this. And then inhale, raise your block up overhead. Beautiful, very good. Now as you reach up, notice if the rib cage has any bit more freedom from the work that we've been doing. Root your tailbone. Be honest with yourself if the left hip flexors are already stretching. That's an important realization. And then keeping your left heel firmly grounded, bend your right knee without overarching your lower back. Squeeze the index fingers alongside the block. And see what you can do for the breath here to start in the first third of the pelvis, torso, mid-third, rib cage, mid-back, upper third, the heart, the shoulder blades. And then begin to raise your gaze. It's okay to bring the block a little forward if you need to. And as you exhale, lower your arms down, straighten your right leg. Catch the block in your right hand. And thoughtfully step your left foot up to meet your right foot. And then step your right foot back. And if possible, you step it back to the baseboard. So the baseboard's going to give you like a little bit of honesty, right, about your foot. And the placement of the angle of the foot is like 30 degrees, maybe 20 degrees. It's up to your ankle, but it doesn't need to be 45 and it's not 90. Place your block in your hands. Inhale, raise your arms. Listen for any greater sense of freedom that you have made through the movements that we've done before this moment. Root your tailbone and your right heel. So you might almost have the sense that the right leg, the back leg, has more responsibility right now than your front leg does. That would not be inaccurate. We have yet to come forward. So charge up the back leg, lift your pubic bone up, root your right heel down. And then begin to bend your front knee, keeping your back heel honest at the wall. Sweep the low belly in. Raise the rib cage. Squeeze your index fingers in against the block for a few moments. And then lift your heart and begin to gaze up. In the whole process, you're listening for the senses to stay inward. Notice the inner leadership you are creating in your body right now. And then as you exhale, lower your arms forward, bring your gaze forward, straighten your left leg, hold the block in your left hand, and step your right foot forward, come to Uttanasana, and pause right there. Notice the, I sometimes call it the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory feeling, when the grandfather and Charlie were in the bubble tube. Notice the effervescence in your body. Now take the block between your hands like this, so the palms are sideways. Raise it up. And try to squeeze the heels of your hands against the block. Nice job. Okay, bend your knees. Sit down to what would be chair pose. Put your body weight into your right leg and see if you can carefully step your left foot back. So it's going to step back. The baseboard is there. And rise up to Virabhadrasana 1. Beautiful. Yeah, so make the back heel very steady, just like when we had starting from standing a moment ago. Now we're coming in from chair pose, but the back leg has the same responsibility. Stretch upwards, lift your rib cage and your heart. And then as you exhale, bring your torso forward so the upper body is in chair pose, and then try stepping your left foot up to meet your right foot. And arrive in chair pose. Push down to go up. Hold the block in your right hand, sweep it out. Put the block between your two hands. Raise it up. Okay, bend your knees. Thank you for smiling. Put your weight into your left leg. Now try to sense it from the inside. You're going to step back. The baseboard is back there. Place your heel firmly between the wall and the baseboard. Give your right leg the responsibilities that are its responsibilities, and raise up in Virabhadrasana 1. And then with an exhale, glide your torso forward. Put your body weight into your left heel and float your right foot to meet your left in chair pose. And then rise up, catch the block in your left hand, sweep it wide, and stand in the heat and the effervescence of mountain pose. Invite your mind to go from dynamic to subtle, from active to reflective, exertion to ease. Good, so now we're going to work on another part of the upper chest and lungs. If you can kneel on your block like this, we call Vajrasana. You also could choose to sit in a chair right now. You don't have to kneel on a block. If your knees don't like kneeling, it's okay to give that a pass. Wrap your right arm around behind the small of your back, just so that your arm is crossing the lower back. And take your right shoulder up and press it back. You might have some limitation in the shoulder. You might have a funny sensation. So we aren't trying to push on that sensation. We are trying to get the right shoulder to go up and back, and for the right elbow to snug a little bit forward. And then tip your left ear towards your left shoulder and breathe into the right side of your neck right here. So you want to have a sense that you can take the right shoulder up and the right shoulder back. And sometimes it does help to check you're not overarching your lower back, and you can gently press the back of your right hand into the back of your waist. It gives a little bit of stability. So you can then act on the right shoulder. And let the left ear get heavy and heavy and heavy towards your left shoulder. Imagine the breath nourishing you from the inside, your senses staying at home, deeply curious about the inner world, not distracted by the outer world. And then slowly release your right arm, float your head up to center, and take a moment to notice how different that is right to left. And then wrap your left arm around across the small of your back. So your hand may be here at the back waist. Take the left shoulder up and set it back. It's okay to press the back of your left hand into the back of your waist. And for your waist to move back towards your left hand. Tip your right ear towards your right shoulder. And take your eyes, your senses, your breath inside to massage the left side of the neck. So we're unwinding specific sort of neurological and physiological regions in the body in this practice, associated with the fourth chakra, fifth chakra, the heart and the throat, and nourished at the second chakra, and as the back waist and the pelvis. So once more, breathe in and watch the process of a smooth exhale that you have some inner leadership with. You're just so taking your time. And then release your left arm so it's heavy. Float your head up to center so it's light. And watch for a few moments inside what is happening now. Okay, we're going to put that all together in the sun salutation now. The reason we just did this work in the neck and shoulders is that in this morning sun salutation, I'm going to ask you to do Salambhasana rather than Cobra pose. So let me show what that looks like. In Salambhasana, we reach back to clasp the hands. We roll the shoulders open and we'll be taking the arms back. Now, not everyone's hands easily clasp behind their back. I understand that. So when you come down in the sun salute, this would be Cobra pose. But we're going to be using Salambhasana, this one. For those who can clasp the hands, you interlace them like this. For those who cannot clasp the hands, you take the arms back and the palms can be face up. And you roll the shoulders back. So you're lifting from the strength of your upper back and the grounding of your legs. Okay, so that takes some time to develop, and let me say that gravity is a lot stronger than any one of us, and we're glad for that. So please rise up to standing and step to the front of your mat for a Surya Namaskar. Bring your hands together at your heart and stand in your plumb line. You've been here for your practice already, expressing your dedication. So come inside with all 5 senses. Come inside to the breath. And know that you are nourishing yourself, not just physically, also physiologically, neurologically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So inhale, sweep your hands down, wide and up. Raise your gaze. Notice any sense of freedom you have at the upper side chest here from the work we've been doing. And then exhale and bow forward slowly. Touch the floor. It's okay to bend your knees. It's okay to use blocks to make the floor closer. Inhale, glide your heart forward. Lift the back hemisphere of your body. Bring your gaze forward at the end. Exhale, step your left foot straight back. This time keeping the left heel lifted. Inhale, rise into your crescent lunge. When the arms go up, let's really pay attention to any sense of freedom that you've made by the actions so far in class. So let's do this. Exhale, float your hands down in front of your heart as you zip the belly up from bottom to the solar plexus. And then inhale, float your arms out to the side. Listen for the possibility that your arms could actually feel as if they're moving through water without causing ripples. Exhale the hands to your heart. Zip the low belly up towards your solar plexus. One more time. Inhale. Try to explore the freedom you've been cultivating in the heart and the upper chest. And this time, exhale, sweep your arms wide, come over your right leg, touch the floor, and step backwards to downward dog pose. Inhale deeply. And then exhale, come forward to plank pose. Place your gaze down between your thumbs. And then exhale, bend your elbows, come onto the floor. You reach back with both hands and clasp if you can. It's okay if you can't. Roll the shoulders back. And then inhale, rise up to Salambhasana. On the exhale, let the pose descend part way because the lungs are emptying. And then we inhale to go back up. Root down through your legs. And allow the pose to descend as you exhale. The lungs are deflating. Now we inhale, inflate the lungs and go back up. And exhale to soften down. This time, place your hands beneath your shoulders, curl your toes under, press up to plank pose. And then reach high to downward facing dog pose. Okay, with an exhale, float your left foot forward between your hands. Press into your right toes behind you. And inhale, rise up. Listen for any sense that the arms could float. Exhale your hands to your heart. Tone the deep low belly. Again, inhale, raise your arms. With your own breath cycle as your guide, exhale to the heart. We'll do it twice more. So inhale. The arms can reflect the fullness of the breath in the inner body. The arms are not causing the breath. They are supported by the breath. Last one. And then exhale with steady legs, come over. And as you lightly touch the floor, then inhale, step your right foot forward to meet your left foot. And exhale to bow towards your legs. Root your heels. Inhale, rise up, Urdhva Hastasana. And exhale your hands to your heart. Pause here with a gentle bow of your head towards your heart. Notice the echo of that effort in your body right now. Notice if your senses can stay a bit better inside. at home. Also notice from practice to practice the time it takes for you to recover from exertion to ease. How quickly are you able to come to ease? Or does it still take some time to return? And then you can release both hands and open your eyes. So I'm going to recommend now that you have a blanket to support your shins. We're going to do gate pose, which I think I'm not so great on the name of gate pose. Might be something like Padikasana, but I have to look it up. So this is a blanket that I have folded. I'm going to do it in thirds so you can see like this, so that my left shin is going to be supported. And I have this block at the ready. Okay, so you come up with the left leg on the blanket and the right leg out to the side, like this. So the hips are more or less level right there. And I would say it's helpful if your left heel lines up with, your right heel lines up with your left knee. Yeah, good. Okay, and then hands on the hips. Let's find out where are your hip bones right now. Mine are right here, so they're level when you start. And then go down to the crease of the right thigh right here with your hand. And press that down. Firm the left outer hip right here. So when you're side bending, you're not jutting your left hip out to the left. This is going to stay firm. And the side bend, you might start feeling the left low back or the back side of your pelvis. Please squeeze the left butt muscles. They should be toned right now. The right hand can come down to your right leg or maybe to your block. I'll put mine up tall so you feel you have permission for the same. Rotate your left shoulder back. Allow the upper torso to also be a part of the curve now. Very good. And then raise your left arm. Notice how much that adds to your experience there, right? On the entire right hemisphere of the body, left hemisphere of the body. As you root down with your left shin, tone your left butt. Lift the left inner belly. Listen to all that's happening inside. It's okay for your gaze to go down towards the floor if your neck is more comfortable with that. I have the joy of looking at you, so that's why my head is forward. And breathing in and breathing out. And let the left arm drape down in front of your face like this. And bring your hand to your hip. Connect to your left low belly and bring yourself upright. And then step your right foot in. We're going to change sides. So you can change where you are. I'm going to shift my whole blanket so I can stay in the frame of the camera for your benefit. Okay, so you have your left knee. Your left heel lined up with your right knee. It's a matter of having mirrored yoga students for 30 years, and now I'm reversed there, and I can't remember how you're experiencing it. So hips level like this, please. Notice that when I first came to my hip bones, I had to realize my left hip was high relative to my right. There you go. Root your tailbone down, firm the back and the side of your right hip. And place your left hand on the hip crease right here. So when you bend forward, the left thigh is actually depressing towards the hamstring. And keep the outer right hip firm. I don't want you to jut your right hip to the right. You may walk your left hand down your left leg. You might take a block, tall setting if you like. Let the upper chest be a part of the side bend. Roll your right shoulder back. Release your head. You're doing great. And then notice what happens as you add your right arm in. Listen on the inside. What is happening now? Of course, you'll have different sensations and different moments of the yoga practice. And from the vantage point of your body, all of the sensations make sense. Sensations are pieces of information for us. Sometimes we've learned to experience sensations as like warnings or apprehensions. And I'd like you to sense in your yoga practice that it's information, it's like intimacy with your body. So keeping your right hip strong. When you exhale, start lowering your right arm down alongside your face. And then bring your right hand over to your right hip, tone your right low belly and come upright. And then step your left foot back in. Yep, come off of that blanket. And notice what's happening now if you just pause right where you are. How does your body go from effervescence to integration, from exertion to ease? Okay, and now I'm going to ask you to put aside the blocks, you don't need those, and to bring your chair onto your yoga mat. I will get mine. Something like this. Okay, and you will need your blanket for this one. So we're just going to open the upper back one more time using the support of the chair to give us a chance to really feel what the upper back can do. So my recommendation here is that you pad either the chair like this, or you can put padding under your knees. Now, for some of you, the beginning form of the pose will be enough dynamic effort. And then for others, you might want to put the block back between your hands, and I'll show both options. So let me pull my sleeves up. So we go like this. The elbows rest on the chair like you're praying, and we take the hips back towards the heels so that the forehead is resting on the blanket, or depending on the length of your upper arms, your forehead may not reach the blanket if you've got long upper arms and your neck is not as long as that. Okay, so in this position, we don't want to hammock into the shoulders. We do want to sense the breath coming into the back waist, back of the diaphragm, back of the heart, sides of the chest. And for those of you for whom this is relatively within your reach and you'd like to, you can put the block between your elbows. And we are looking for the back body to receive the inhale. And that does take some inner leadership on your part. For example, we don't want the low belly hammocking towards the thighs. You don't need the back waist becoming a ski slope down at the back of the diaphragm. The armpits are not acting like hanging plants. So the tone of the structure of the pose is what allows the breath to come into the back of the waist. Okay, and then you're gonna lift up from your hips. If you were using a block, you can put that aside. And with your blanket, now what I would recommend is you take it, if you had it folded in thirds, only fold it in half now and place it in front of the chair for Shavasana. Let me move so I'll stay in the frame of the video. So this I'm going to back up a little ways. And then the blanket is going to be for the pelvis. So if you don't have a blanket, you can of course use a pillow. You can use a folded sweatshirt or whatever gives you some padding at the back of the sacrum right there. And then we come into almost like you're going to be lying down sideways in bed. And then you roll. And once you roll, you're going to place the support right under your pelvis. Take the legs through here. Tuck the shoulder blades under the heart, like that. And then you let the body relax. So this is a gentle inversion of sorts, and it will help to bring some blood supply back towards your brain. You are welcome to cover your eyes with an eye mask or the sleeve of your sweatshirt or whatever helps to give your eyes a little bit of rest. Please take your arms out with your palms face up. And then begin the process of calling your senses now even more deeply in, right? The senses, we're paying attention there to the inner experience of the body. So we already came from the outside world to the inner world. We're going to take our senses even further in from there. So with the eyes closed, imagine your eyes becoming heavier with relaxation. And then surrounding each eye, the muscles can become more deeply at ease. The center of the eyebrows, along the line of the eyebrows, over to the corners of the eyes. Allow your eyelids to be really heavy, not burdensome to the eyes. They're not pushing forward into your lids. Allow your eyes to rest. There's nothing they need to be looking for. Imagine your eyes becoming very still, as if you were gazing at a very tranquil candle inside. And then for the ears, relaxing the outer ear, the muscles closest to the ears, the hinge of your jaw. Soften the middle ear. And then traveling into the inner ear, imagine returning the sense of listening to go even deeper than thought. We listen to the silence from which all sound is rising and passing. Allow your ears to be deeply, deeply quiet. And then bringing awareness to the sense of smell, the sense of taste. Invite these senses to also deeply relax. And turning inward, releasing all sense of craving and aversion produced by smell and taste, and let yourself rest inside. As the senses come in, let the inner skin of the body also soften. This is called myofascia. Also the tissues and the organs, and the lining of the digestive tract. Let all of the surfaces, the linings, allow them to soften. Moment to moment, you allow the senses to turn inward and even deeper than the inner life. Welcome this deep ease to travel down into your heart, the center of the heart. All five senses quiet. Simply resting. And allow the sensations in the body to become deeply quiet, surrounding the floating ribs and the stomach. No sense of tension or apprehension. And allow the mid-belly below the solar plexus and surrounding the navel. Let this region also deeply relax. And then allow there to be really deep ease down in the pelvis, the center, below the belly button, above the pubic bone, and back in towards your sacrum. Allow all the senses to be very quiet back there. And then deeper than the senses, deeper than the chakras, allow your mind to return to its mirror-like capacity to reflect love and kindness. And quietly wiggle your toes, your fingers. Please slide your knees towards the front edge of the chair, and then just pause there and notice when the knees come forward, the belly changes a little bit, the lower back softening towards the floor. And roll down to one side on your blanket. You can use both hands to come up to sitting. Please take an upright seat. Rest your hands, when you're ready to, out over your knees. When we put the hands out over the knees, there's a little space under the rib cage for the breath. And the breath does not need to be very large right now, because we want to sense the space we've made in the practice. Listen for the natural meditative state that you can rest in. And then please bring your hands together at your heart. Float the elbows a little bit forward so there's still a sense of space through here. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May there be peace, peace, peace everywhere. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste. I'm coming up to see you a bit. I have to do it here. How are you feeling?